Okay. All right, let's call our meeting to order so we can get everybody out of here in a reasonable time. The first item on our agenda is the motion to approve the Board of Directors meeting minutes that was held. The meeting was held on June 25th at Lincoln Land Community College. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved. Second. That was 9.
Pardon me?
That was 9.
Okay. And Mr. Hart. Okay. Discussions? Are there any additions or corrections? All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Hines, seconded by Mr. Hart. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Next, the Treasurer's Report. Mr. Lawrence.
Just getting a copy of our 7 months in this first month. I don't have a balance sheet, but
It's the same thing? Oh yeah, I guess we're sending around 2 ways.
The same one?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Looks like
It's
it.
the same one, Ken. Excuse me. I'm passing the same thing to you again.
Okay, these are extras.
Sorry, John.
have a 8-month report. That ain't right. Should be 7 months report ending July 31st. And just a typical month. We've taken in 89,500 so far this year. The schedule on the next page. 73,000 of that is temporary living fees, and 34.5 we've got in with our director's donations and some other charities. On the expense side, we spent 36,000, which is an average of 5,200 a month, which is a little bit high for the 7 months. And I've got actually 3 quarters in my accounting fees at this point. I have billed the 4th quarter. I bill quarterly, and I've got a 4th quarter of 2012, 1st quarter of 2013, and 2nd quarter of 2013 in that, so that we'll only have 1 more quarter on a calendar year basis. And that amount's a little high, but it is about $500 less than point last year. I think we're in pretty good shape. Cash balance today at July 31st was $80,922. Today we've got $79,030 after paying our all of our office expenses, and we did have Mary's contract, the phone, and $560 officers and directors liability insurance in August. Going forward, I have roughly 1, 2, 3, 4 of the $1,000 director receipts bills outstanding. Those all went out middle of June. I've got scheduled 2 or 3 at the end of the year, which include the county, and People's Bank is on a kind of a December, First National Bank is on a December cycle, which I've got noted in a particular file set up to get those bills out. We have typically gone to the city in August, which got by me before I noted it, so that I think we should get on the agenda for the Finance Committee, which would be the third Thursday of September, and I think that's September the 12th. Coming up pretty quick.
May I interject something real quick? Mr. Hart, are you available? The reason that I think that you need to attend with me if we go is because there's been a new development at TDA, and they're going to want to know that because they're going to want to talk about that. Now I'll talk about it, but I don't want to say anything that's not correct.
It's the third Thursday.
September 8th. I thought you said September
No,
8th.
12th.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's the second. That's the second Thursday.
September 12th.
No, first is Thursday.
Second Thursday.
I won't be here that day. On the the 19th I won't be here. I'll be here on the 12th.
You'll be here? John, what's the date? I'm sorry. When do you want us at the city? Maybe I'm screwed up on the date.
I'm sorry, I read the letter to you the first of the month. The third Thursday would be the 19th.
yeah, because the
Oh,
meeting is the 18th.
so it's September 19th.
Right.
Okay. And Ken, you'll be gone.
I'll be gone.
All right. Now, you can either have, if you want to have someone there, that's fine. If you want me to do it, I'll do it. But
Yeah.
are we ready?
I may
I'm
have-
assuming we're ready to disclose that because it'll be very public then.
Yeah, we probably will have the signed documents by that time.
Okay.
I think we don't have anything signed right now.
Okay. All right. Well, handle that any way
Yeah.
you want. If you
I
want
may-
somebody
I may
there,
ask-
that'd be
I
fine.
may ask Dan Rebb.
That'd be fine.
He's our secretary.
Sure. That'd be fine. Or I'll handle it. It's not a big deal. But I just want you to know I'm going to tell them what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lawrence, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Do you want to finish your report or are you finished?
Yes, let me think. I have to report that Larry Peterson has gone on his own as he's done for a year or so now, and he has brought in
Yeah, he's
some of the customary donors, and this past month, I think he's working on a couple more, but we've got $200 from the state of $200 from Battery Specialist, $200 from Jim Gagney, $100 from Kennedy Real Estate, and $300 from Hickman Special and Beckley. So that he's paid his $1,000 for this year in that manner, raising his own money.
That's great.
Which,
Okay.
Did Payne send you a check?
and we got payments check in August, yeah. That takes care of the George and you.
All right. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Lawrence's report? Mayor Brotherton, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hart, discussion? You've heard that motion from Mr. Mayor Brotherton, seconded by Mr. Hart. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, the director's. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I didn't get it in. I have a question on what we're doing with Mike Brotherton. I know he's moved. I've never sent him a bill. We basically haven't had any resignation and didn't you say someone's going to call?
I did and I did not. I let the group down. I forgot about it totally. I will contact Mike Brotherton.
He still needs to send you the money.
What?
He still needs to send you the money.
He's still got craters
Well,
going.
he still has crazy.
That's exactly right. I'll call him and have a discussion. I was supposed to do that. I forgot. My mistake. All right. Did we approve your report? We did that, did we not? Okay, next. Mary.
Okay. If you'll refer to my director's report, you will see that for the first time in a long time, we were able to participate in a DCEO site selector RFI. Project MIST, which, by the way, Tim Dudley, who's the Central Illinois manager for DCEO, did something that I think I'd acknowledge here. They sent out an RFI on August the 28th for a turnaround or I'm sorry, July the 20th for a turnaround by August 1st. Tim didn't hear from me immediately, which he knows he would have, and so he called me the next day and said, is something wrong? I didn't hear from you. And I said, well, I didn't get it. And he sent it to Greg. Greg didn't get it. And so because he called me, you know, and was really on the ball that way, and then I talked to Jim, I think you did get it.
I did get it, yeah, unfortunately,
You
they
couldn't.
weren't rail, we couldn't get involved.
Yeah, well, anyway, Tim and I discussed it, and we decided that mutually that there are only 2 counties downstate that were being considered for this project. One was Sangamon, the other was Christian. And Sangamon elected not to participate. Because of the fact that we now have, or TDA rather, has the option on this acreage of the Hopper Trust, I just thought it was an ideal situation for us to at least go through the motions, and maybe we'd get, if we were the only ones in central Illinois, maybe we'd at least get a look by the site selector. So
And we'll be updating you too on that in just one little later in the agenda. We're talking about something that we haven't really briefed on, but it's coming. Okay, go, Mary. I'm sorry. They don't know what we're talking about because they.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
no,
I'm
they
sorry.
haven't been briefed. But
I'm sorry.
Tim's
I'm
going to
sorry.
brief them later.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
in the agenda.
okay.
I just wanted them to know that.
Anyway, the quick and the project consists of, it's a manufacturing project utilizing ag-related biomass, which are probably corn husks and other things, to create some sort of aftermarket product, which
Some
is
of
probably...
that's that sequoia grass that they're growing
Yes.
down at the University of Illinois.
Yes, and don't know more of the particulars other than that. It's going to create 30 jobs. They did have a lot of specifications, which I'm going to pass out to everybody here just a little later when we talk about the fast response team. The point is that a lot of people came together very quickly. Greg helped me a lot, Mike Giannaci, all kinds of people. And we got all the information together in 2 days, and we presented 2 sites. The 84-acre site that TDA oversees by ADM, and the new Hopper site, Trust site, which is behind Walmart, located behind Walmart. It'll probably be a couple of months before we hear anything. I don't know, you know, we may or may not make the first cut. What I'm hoping for is that we at least get somebody to take a look down here, because if we can get somebody to come down here, even if it doesn't work for this project, they will have been here and it may work for a future project, and they'll have the knowledge of it from, you know, having been here. So I'm pretty excited about it, and that's kind of where we are with that. We were able to get it in by the deadline. Moving on to Tenaska, and I guess MDL, according to Todd Ely, the property is now, Tenaska property is now reverted back to MDL, which, you know, were the original people who had the property before Tenaska got involved. When we were working on the Project Mist, I called Todd and asked him if they would be interested in submitting their site. And he said no, that they were not. They didn't know what they were going to do with the property, but at this stage they're not interested in marketing it. So that's all I know about that. Do you know anything else, Greg?
No, I mean, he just, no,
Kinda-
you know Todd.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Exactly, yeah.
He kind of hinted that he was working on something,
Yeah.
but wasn't ready to share it yet.
There you go. Well, you know, we will just have to play that by ear. Rhino Energy, nothing happening there. Really can't even get them to respond to me. You know, so I mean, I'm sure that was tied to Tenaska. I don't know what they're going to do. Rock Solid Produce, everybody knows they closed, unfortunately, but their owner, Humang Dave, who is out of Boston, has his own venture capitalist, very nice man. He responded to me by email, sent me the name of the person who is their broker in Tennessee. I placed a call to her to find out, you know, what she's doing to market the Buckley building and what I can do to help her. I'm encouraging them to put that building on the Illinois Site and Building Database. They didn't want to do that initially, but Mr. Dave said, you talk to her about that, and you know, we might do that. So I sent that information, I think, to Greg and to Paul Schmitz too, in case they got any calls about the building. So we do have open communications there. Clean Line Energy, that's just kind of moving along. I think they're concentrated in other states right now, so they're not really doing much here. With regard to the Ameren Illinois Rivers project, I don't know how many of you saw the Springfield Journal and Register this morning, but Apparently 30 miles of that, Pana and Pawnee, was not approved by the Illinois Commerce Commission, even though they approved the rest of it, which doesn't really make much sense to me. The reason they gave is because Ameren didn't show cost-efficient information that would justify them approving that 30 miles, which is totally insane. I personally think it's probably political, but I don't know. So Ameren is supposed to be working with them to provide them with what they need. Obviously, they're going to end up doing that. Dominion, when I wrote this report, FERC approval had not been granted. I talked to CJ. It was granted yesterday morning. Apparently, the buyout is going to be complete by next week. They're adding 5 jobs. And I have a retention call scheduled with CJ on September the 12th at 1 o'clock. So if anybody wants to go with me, 1 or 2 people, Greg, I know you like to go on those, more than happy to have you go. So we're doing, they're doing well. He doesn't anticipate anything but good things. With regard to the events section, I'm not going to, I guess I'll let Ken talk about the TDA meeting, so we'll skip that one. There was a young lady in here, Sarah Kessler from WAND, who met with me and just kind of wanted to talk about, she wanted to see me and kind of meet me so that she'd know who she was dealing with when she wanted to call me for information. Very nice, so we made, we kind of had that meeting. The other thing to note here is I attended the Edinburgh Village board meeting with Mike Bell when he was making his pitch for the money to belong to the organization. I saw where they paid. So that was something that was important. And then, Greg, you went on the Megan Meadows call because I was sick. We had it scheduled for June 25th, so I've asked Greg to kind of update you on that.
Yeah, I meant out there with Tom Kotal, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Kotal, and he just said basically things are going slow there. They've got 27 employees. They're currently just running 1 shift, but because it's summer, they start at 5:30 in the morning trying to beat the heat. But I asked him, I threw out the idea, is there anything we can do to help you, not only as an organization, but the city as well. I threw out the idea of maybe a centralized kind of materials yard to see if some of the other businesses that utilize metal too, if it would make sense for them to import the, instead of using the truck so much, using the rail a little bit more. And he says, well, we're not large enough to use those quantities of metal, so he didn't think that would work for him. I also threw out the idea of those kind of people and peers getting together. I said that way everyone knows what each other's doing, and you might be able to provide something for them and vice versa. He said, we don't like people knowing what we do, and he goes, they probably feel the same thing too, because we don't want them stealing our business, and I'm sure they don't want us stealing theirs. I said, okay, I'm just throwing something out there.
I thought it was a great idea, actually.
Yeah. And then I finally asked, I said, is there anything we could do to help? And he just responded, well, yeah, just send us some work. He says, we need some work right now, and having trouble finding it. I think that same day they were supposed to meet with the representatives of Caterpillar to see if there's something they could do with them. And he never did, say if that went well or didn't go well. I haven't heard, but...
Well, one thing that's positive about that is for the first time since Ron Eiler left as Seiler left as the manager of that of Macon Metals. This gentleman is at least open to talking to us, because we've been trying to get down there for a while and just hasn't worked out.
They got another project going right now that Stan Bogacek, who owns that, his son Mark.
Yeah.
And they patented, I think, a new device that runs on a bar graph, and to where they've been working with General Motors. It will go and pick up like the door on a pickup truck, and they load 10 of them on this thing, and it just follows the path down to where the trucks come by. As they come by, they take one on, put it on the truck, and they've been very successful. So they're not doing a whole lot in Taylorville.
They're doing that in Janesville? Yeah.
And I think they probably maybe even got a small plant in Detroit now.
Oh, okay. Well, so I just want to make sure we keep the lines of communication open because
Yeah.
you know, that's been a good business. We are trying to, I'm trying to set up a retention call in the near future with Alstrom Filtration too. So hope to get that in the next month or two.
I'm actually meeting with them Friday on a different matter.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well,
Any questions for Mary? Any concerns prior to your vote to approve her report? Okay, all right. Is there a motion to approve Mary's report?
Mr.
Joel, did I see you move? And seconded by Mr. Lawrence. Discussion? All right, you've heard that motion from Mr. Gear, seconded by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Mr. Gear, do you have time for an update, sir, from Pana?
Yeah, just real quick, no activity with the Essex building. Of course, the GZ out of Springfield owns that, and they've got about 2 years left on their bond issue. They could sell it, contract for deed. Mary and I went up and visited with them quite some time ago, and I guess my disappointment is that they've not really even tried to market it.
I know.
And that's a little disappointing. I mean,
And it's a great building.
oh, it is, and our abilities to market something that's not ours are very limited.
Right,
So,
exactly.
my disappointment's there. Since this has been back down the road, State Care of Illinois, their main plant in Wisconsin, they went and pulled bankruptcy,
Oh.
which included the Pana facility. And it's my understanding that after that point, one of the principals took it over and tried to make a go of it, and that didn't fly either. And that building's been sold to the Hinchins that have automotive equipment sales.
And they've moved there. The move's almost completed for
Yeah.
them to move down to
And
another
I've
place.
already met with them. They've got the old
Buick?
dealership building there out by Kitcher Park, and that's an equitable building. And I told them, in fact, I even made them a little pre-booklet and said, here's what I can do to help you when you go to market that, and here's an example of what we can do. And it has some, you know, you could put 25
nice.
people in there in a little facility, so it has some potential. The folks out at National Greenhouse Nexus, they just very quietly continue to work. Don't know that they've reached their goal of doubling their workforce yet or not. They're very tight, and they don't tell you a lot what's going on, and they just grin and smile and thank you, and that's not all bad either. Of course, Payne and Taylorville's so affected by GSI with their facility here, and in an assumption it affects Payne quite a bit. And they're still humming along and seem to be on pretty good ground up there. I guess the big deal is, and I always get a kick out of Mike Bell, there's only one highway in Christian County, you know. But I like to impress upon Mike that there's only one federal highway in Christian County, that's Route 51. And the Byers folks there in Payne Byers Construction are helping build that, and boy, they're going
Are
at
they?
it.
Oh, hell, they've worked on Sundays and man, they're
That
going
is
great.
24 hours a day, it seems.
They lost some rain dates, but
Yeah.
boy, they're moving some.
They're doing it.
And
Where's it at now? I mean, where
they're moving dirt at the S curves.
At where?
At the S
Yeah,
curve?
S
yeah,
curve.
and they're working.
Going
Of course, there's a
south.
bridge in there, and they're working all up and down there. And actually, the Assumption bypass still had asphalt to be laid, and they laid some of that last week.
week,
Ah.
yeah.
And,
Is it open?
No,
No,
it's
but
still just 2 lanes.
It,
You know, just-
I look for them to open them both same time.
Oh, I think so.
You know,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think
so.
they're going to wait. They're going to open Assumption,
I don't know.
And when do you think that is, Jim?
probably next fall.
Okay.
Because they got to build some bridges and they got some things to do. But boy, they're going at it. I'm
They're
telling
really
you,
working hard.
It's amazing. I don't know that I've seen this kind of
Next year's
construction go
election
that fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's when they'll open,
Yeah.
election year, next
Exactly,
year.
of course.
But you know, any time that noise about Route 51 hits a paper, my phone starts ringing, and so I encourage any time the Decatur Herald or the Springfield paper wants to do an article on Route 51, I'm ready. We're currently working with 4 developers on painted projects and trying to get some stimulus in the retail activity and some projects going there. And boy, we're always keeping busy, a lot of humming going on, but boy, I'd sure like to shove one off the cliff, you know?
Got a lot going on. Thank you
We're
for the
busy.
report.
Yeah.
The paint update will be on every exec team and every board meeting from now, because we kind of ignored it. We didn't mean to, we just weren't aware of it. Yes,
Could I just mention one more thing?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I should have
that's okay.
talked about this. There's been this
Thank you.
ongoing thing for months about goodies coming to Taylorville. And you may have remembered that I reported on it for several months, and then I said that the real estate person said they couldn't get the lease arrangements made with Hirschfelds, who owned the property. And, well, unbeknownst to me, of course, there was work going on out there. And somebody called me and told me about it. And so I started making calls around to different people, including the real estate guy, who never, ever bothered to call me or would answer my calls. I called Goody's real estate department. They never answered my calls. Patty Hornbuckle called them. She went down there. We still have never had anything really official, and yet that whole thing's happening, I guess. So I really don't
Yeah, I
know.
was out there the other day. Mike Myers is the contractor doing the work.
Okay, maybe I'll try to go back there today and see what I can
And
find out.
I asked, because you told us, I said, what is this going to be? He said, well, it's going to be good. He said,
Yeah.
well, I thought they were going to come. I said, well, yeah. He says,
Yeah.
and they were putting up drywall and everything else, and in there and working. And he said they're going to plan to be open by September. Wow.
I wonder
And then
if
Cookers is out in the banquet room, right?
Yeah, I found out about that online.
Online.
I called Mike. I said, "Probably share that, did you?" He goes, "Well, how'd you find out about it?" I said, "Well, it's online right now." He goes, "Well," said Hirschfeld had this building, and he said he was going to give it to me cheap if I would go in and do something inside it. So
'Cause they're kind of
we're working on that.
connected
He goes,
there, so.
"That's not supposed to be out." And
It's
apparently, Hirschfeld had talked to somebody.
Well, they must have had an attitude adjustment. And what I figure happened is they cut the original real estate guy out of the loop. They probably dealt with Goodies one-on-one, and then the deal
That would be
happened.
her
But anyway,
fault.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Thank you, Mary.
yeah, no problem.
Okay, regarding, I just wanted to say something to see if you guys thought this was the right way to approach this. Our goals, of course, have been ratified. I wanted to, because our goals are pretty expansive here and pretty good, I was thinking about the best way to try to get headed in a good direction on the goals. And I wanted your input on how to do that. I was thinking that maybe we need, just to give some food for thought here, I was thinking maybe we needed some subcommittees that would be more honed in on just that issue, on just the issue of example goal number 1 and how to accomplish that goal, and then bring recommendations back to us and let us refine it and look at it, and then go on to the board and get the plans approved and try to get folks working on that. Is that a logical way to do this, or is there a better way? Can you think of a better way?
No.
Well, would it work for everybody if at our next meeting I brought to you a list of suggested folks to help in those areas, and then have you look at it and say, hey, yeah, what about taking that guy off and adding this guy, whatever input you want prior to that, and then we'll start calling and getting people going. Is that an acceptable way to do this from your perspective? Okay, so I'll set up some suggested subcommittees, trying to match talents to what the goal is, and see if we can get that hidden, because we're kind of, we've said the goals, we've laid them out, but we've not really done anything to accomplish them. So I'm trying to get us working on that a little bit. Is that a reasonable thing for all of you? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the way we'll approach it. Next meeting, I'll have recommendations for you. Let's see here. We're down to, I believe, I think we updated you regarding Mr. Lawrence. What had happened was Ken, Mary, and I met today at noon. We were going to get this going because, as you'll recall from past meetings, we were going to, Mr. Lawrence thought that maybe by October 31st he'd like to be retired and done with us. He wants to stay on the board another year, but he'd be over all his bookkeeping duties. Mary kind of took him in, took his arm and twisted it around his neck and between his legs, and he's now agreed. Yeah, I know, weird thing. But he's now agreed to help us until 6:30, June 30th of 2014.
That PM or AM?
So we're going to proceed with our plan to find a replacement for Mr. Lawrence, but the date will be, we'll bring recommendations to you on who we think it ought to be. We're kind of honing in on this Matt Beckley guy mainly because of his age. He's more in his low 40s, late 30s, early 40s. Everyone else that we've talked about is, we think, more high 60s or high 50s, 60s. We wanted somebody with some longevity. We think that's the best approach. We want the TDA. They would be doing TDA and CCEDC. So we'll be working on that, bringing recommendations to you when we get to that point, just so that you're updated on that. So that takes care of that. Mr. Hart, would you update us on the, mainly those guys, so they'll know, or anybody else that doesn't know what's going on with the industrial park service?
We've been working on a possibility of trading our 84 acres that we own out by ADM to 96 acre tract that lies between Walmart and Trinity Dodge on Route 29, and also goes over, there's about 20 acres on Route 104. There's a big ditch that runs down through it and behind Walmart, behind the nursing homes and things like that. But we've got Phil Martin doing an engineering study at this time, and we've agreed with that land's owned by BCH Incorporated, which stands for Bertram Hopper, but it's owned by Austin and David Hopper, which are Fred Hopper's two sons, and they both live in California. One lives in California, one lives in Texas. And they don't want to develop it. They get calls all the time about somebody want to buy 5 acres, 6 acres, 7 acres. They said, we don't want to do that, but we would. They said, if we had the 84 acres out here, agriculturally it's a lot better ground, and they might generate as much cash rent from it as they would their 96 acres. So, because that's not all tillable. So we have agreed for a 1-year option at a cost of $1,000 that TDA will spend. We've had 2 or 3 meetings. I think we had the final meeting last Thursday, and the documents are ready to sign, which will give us a 1-year option on trading that land with no money changing hands at all, just strictly, that tract for that tract. And so we're hopefully, number one, get all the signatures on that in the next 30 days. Number two, in the next 60 days, get some cost studies from Phil Martin as to where the water is, the sewer, utilities, and things like that, so we can make we've had a board meeting from TDA. When we find out all that, we'll have another board meeting, and they will act upon, us moving forward. So that there's probably, of the 96 acres, I think there's 60 some acres that could be developed. So that gives us ample acreage and it's got good visibility. The one downfall we don't have out there is there's no rail access.
Right.
As to the 84 acres, there could be rail access there. So, but there's just ADM, they truck everything.
I know.
They don't use rail. So, and I think a lot of Alston Filtration, they bring their raw materials in, I think, on rail, but all their finished product goes out by truck. So I don't know how important that is, but we've not had somebody come to us and say, well, we would build there, but you don't have rail, even when we were out there in the old one. So we're going to proceed with that and see where it takes us. So keep everybody up to date.
Well, of course, the great thing is, and the reason we participated in Project Mist at all, is because at least that site has infrastructure right there. It's not going to cost us $4 million up front, to
Right.
even make it feasible for somebody to locate there. So.
Do you know where the 80 acres is, guys? It's sort of locked back there, and we can't get a sewer permit because the east side sewer there's
At
breaks
capacity.
at capacity. We're having all kinds of problems with every time we turn. There seems to be some obstacle with that 80 acres. And
Now you're talking about the 8 acres by ADM?
yes,
Yes.
sir. That 80 acres is a problem for us getting the utilities to the site. This is more readily available, or it won't be quite as expensive for us to develop the park.
Now, did you put the ADM site on the Mist list?
We did, because Ken said, just go ahead and submit it, since we were submitting the other one too, so.
Well,
We
that's
did.
good.
We put it on there.
Yeah.
I doubt that I would have gone ahead with this based upon, as you know, the requirements of the project, but it was such an ideal chance, because Christian County was the only county in central Illinois. So they must have really wanted here for a reason. So I'm thinking, even if we don't, we're not realistically gonna get it, we might get a visit. And that's what I'm looking at.
Well, now, the 80 acres is going to, in essence, the Hopper Boys. So in a funny roundabout way, it still might be available.
Could be,
Perhaps, yeah.
Because boy, I'll tell you what, that's the one big check mark at Painted, that every time I see a solicitation that wants a rail, we don't have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree with you, there's a lot of.
Yeah, they would sell it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
There's a
in
lot of
essence,
that.
really, you got the best of both
It could be
worlds.
industrial park too, if we get the one
exactly.
going.
yeah, Elizabeth's got two.
Yeah.
At least we got something else we can work.
Something else going. Mr. Hart, thank you. All right, were you finished, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Hart before we proceed? You okay? Mary, would you take up the discussion, please, regarding the fast
Yeah.
response team?
I thank you, Dick, and I'm going to do this very briefly. As I alluded to earlier when I went through the Project Mist information, I'm just going to pass this out just because I didn't know who might. I know you've seen these, but some of you may not have seen requests for information from a site locator. Bear in mind that this information had to be turned around in the best scenario in 3 days. Not unusual, right, Jim?
Yeah.
I mean, Jim and I have probably seen them where had to be turned around in 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So to the extent that we, and Greg, and I talked about this, to the extent that we can get a lot of this information together on the Hopper side in particular, and I think I have a lot of it on the other side, we're ready to go. There are some individual things that they ask for that are project specific that you're just not going to be able to have together ahead of time. But the great thing about having a fast response team formalized, which is one of our goals this year, is that we identify all the necessary people who have to be in place that we are most likely going to have access to in order to respond quickly to one of these proposals. And those people understand that these things can happen on a Friday, and we have to work Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday to get it ready. Now, this time, of course, that whole mechanism was not formally in place. But nonetheless, because I had great cooperation, it worked well. So what I want to do here, and the reason I'm handing this out to you is just so you have an idea of what this is all about. Be thinking about people you think who would logically be on a fast response team. I know who I think would be, and I've got a list together. I want to talk about that at length at maybe the next executive committee meeting. So if I could ask you to just kind of look at this, bearing in mind we don't want a whole lot of people. This just has to be the primary people in Christian County that you think are the most important that I would need access to in order to put something together quickly. I'm sure I know probably most of those people at the county level and in Taylorville. I'm not sure I do know those people around the rest of the other towns in Christian County. So just think about that if you would. Take a look at it, and we'll talk about it further. And I'll come with my list. And what we'll have to do is I think most of these people know, like Dave Spiegel, for instance, who did a fantastic job of, I said, here's what I need, Dave, immediately. I get it, and it's exactly what I asked for. I think I need to have maybe, once these people are identified, maybe a little orientation, maybe a meeting with these people, just to kind of go over with them, and Jim, you probably could participate in this as well because of your experience. And we could talk about our experience in dealing with site locators and what you have to have in order to respond well. So I think that's probably something we need to do too. But I really want that in place by the end of the year.
Well, it'd be awfully nice if the economy does pick up. We're gonna have more of these kinds
Right.
of things that are hopefully.
And we're gonna be
We've
ready.
we've been a long drought without many of them. It'd be nice if it did pick up where we had some to deal with. And we need to
Exactly.
be prepared, and that's what you're trying to do. So
Right,
that's a good
exactly.
move.
And,
Very
and
good.
this Project Mist thing came along a week after, I think, the TDA meeting or something
Yeah.
like that.
You bet.
But it worked out. So.
I think we don't need to vote on that, do we? We all support that, right? Is everybody okay with that? Think about it and bring recommendations to Mary.
Something that comes to mind in that same vein of thought.
And you can just send me the recommendations, perfect.
We see it every day. They go to I-80 North.
Yep,
And
yep.
would it be worthwhile doing a cost comparison of doing business I-80 North to downstate?
What would be, well, I can't see the downside. Now,
I
usually,
mean, maybe we won't like to see the results, but
as you
and
know.
I'm sure each entity, the
different.
transportation people are going to say, well, there's transportation costs because our main market is in
Right,
Milwaukee.
right.
You know, I mean, but boy, you know, they talk about location, and my God, I've seen the time to drive from across the suburbs. You can drive from South Suburb to Taterville.
Oh, of course. The
And
question,
that-
it's a lot of that is a perception, number one. And number two, you know, these people just don't want to be, for whatever reasons, out of that Chicago
Yeah.
metro
Well, anytime
circle.
I see an Oriental or a foreign, I'll say, company that wants to do business in Illinois, I'm thinking, well, the best we can offer them is a airport in Bloomington that does some flights, but, you know, they think there's nothing past O'Hare.
Exactly.
Or,
Yeah.
you know.
And I mean, that's what I was trying to say about participating in this particular project.
Mhm.
Because if we could just get them down here,
Mhm.
you know, if we could get them down here and let them see what we got, let them see, you know, how we're willing to work with them and everything, and those advantages, you know, that's half the battle.
Well, one of the things I talked to Decca about is certified sites.
Yeah,
Decca has no criteria for Illinois certified sites, none.
I'm not surprised.
And I'm
Well, it's
not
totally
sure
different,
that
as
we
you know.
haven't got the ability to, and in case in point in your new site, it's a, you know, you develop our own criteria for a
I agree with you,
certified site.
and I think that's an excellent
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent idea.
But I mean, you know, man,
You do.
here's our ability with water sewer, and you're doing it in sort of, you know,
I think
a
that
way
I
here.
think that certified site idea is excellent, Jim.
And even, I
Really
mean,
good idea.
there's people that do that, but good
Well, I
God,
don't
we
even
pretty
know-
well know what a certified site is.
Yeah, I don't even know. And
It's
that's a
approved by
good
the
question.
Christian County Economic Development.
That's all we need.
Well, yeah.
All we use is
Yeah.
a stamp then.
I don't even know. Does Ameren even do that Insight program anymore? I don't think they do.
Well, I don't think they do.
I don't.
And,
I
and there's
think
probably
so.
good reasons they don't, because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
But,
I
I mean,
think
to
it's
me,
a
one
great
of the
idea.
biggest partners you need to get on board with this is Ameren, because
Yep.
every one of these, the criteria is different when it comes to ohms and watts.
That's
and-
right.
and-
I've already talked to Steve
Yeah.
about it.
And where the power's located. See, they stripped a lot of the Pana utility.
I know. That's what you
They
said.
stripped a lot of that. And they stripped my South Central terminal. So if I got somebody comes back in there,
I
I've
didn't know
got to
that.
go back with, I don't even have three-phase out.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Oh,
didn't know
yeah,
they did
and
that.
we had no choice in that. So,
All right, very good. Mary, keep the podium and keep talking about our annual meeting.
Oh,
please.
yes, okay. The annual meeting is scheduled for October the 18th. It's going to work exactly like our previous annual meetings. We're going to have what is really our annual business meeting at 10:30 in the Taylorville Memorial Hospital auditorium. It should be on your schedule of meetings that you have. And that'll be just like a regular board meeting, but we will have the election of officers there, and also a formalizing of anyone else who's new to the board that we would have to formalize their appointment. In addition to that, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor here and thank Ken Hart very much and Mayor Brotherton for helping to put together what I think is going to be a great program, is going to bring a lot of people in to the meeting. Ken and the Hopper Trust provided the funding to bring Jack Schultz and Craig. How do you pronounce Craig's name?
Linval.
Linval. And since Greg has seen the presentation, I'm just going to let him talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a tremendous thing what Craig's developed there in Effingham. Craig now teaches there in Effingham at the high school, and 5-6 years ago he started this program, and the concept is just to identify young, talented students that and basically teach them to be business people, entrepreneurs. And there's a waiting list now trying to get into his programs, and has had so much success. Effingham, I believe they said it had 20 businesses as a direct result of this program. They've done surveys for the kids, that were graduating, how many of them thought they would return to Effingham, and it was almost zero. And now I forget what the percentage is, but a very high percent of them say they would like to come back to Effingham and open up a business, basically. And whether it be Taterville, Payne, or whatever, I mean, the only way we're going to improve going forward is to get some young blood in here and get them to stay here and keep us growing. And this kind of program may just be the thing that will launch that. And so I encourage you guys to get people in Pana and whoever to attend this thing, and you won't be sorry. Now, with that said, I just absolutely hate the fact that the IML conference is the exact same date. So luckily I got to see it in Effingham, and I won't be able to attend it myself, but I'm going to try and get my aldermen that aren't going to Chicago to attend this thing, because again, I think it's just absolutely fantastic thing that our schools can get involved with, our business community can get involved with, and it'll have huge rewards for any place this is implemented. The key thing, like any program though, is identifying the right people. If you're going to try and reproduce something, that's fine, but you still have to find. We'd have to find a Craig Linval here in Taylorville. You'd have to find someone in Payne or the area with the same kind of desire and initiative to keep this thing moving as well. And that's probably the toughest part of the whole program.
So now, does Craig provide training for these people?
He will, and part of this deal, he will provide a follow-up with it. I mean, he'll give you some ideas on who you need to be looking for and everything like that. Once you get those people together, he'll come back down and try and help implement it to a certain degree. And I think the fee was $5,500, and he agreed to cut that in half for us. And like I said, then Ken went to the Hopper Foundation and got them to come up with the money. So
yeah, we appreciate that very much. I think it's going to be, I'm really happy that we're the ones that are going to be promoting this with TDA, because I agree, I think that's exactly what's going to happen to keep this place viable, and all places viable, is maintaining and attracting young people that are interested in building a business and being involved in the community. So this is a really good thing. I think that we need to, I know Ken has talked to, and you have, Greg, Lisa about Houston, who takes care of the marketing and putting everything together. I think we should give some thought to how we're going to market this. I mean, this is really a special event. I think maybe we should get on the radio and talk about it, maybe more than once. We should, maybe even try to get on Channel 20.
Well, help me. I apologize. I haven't looked at the bylaws. I'm admitting my ignorance here. I haven't looked at the bylaws for a while. Dee being our bylaw, you guys being our bylaw experts, do we need to form is it a nominating committee to begin the process of looking for people who would serve?
Yeah, I mean, and it can be a committee or usually just the members.
Yeah.
Or just kind of
Just
whoever
would do that.
Whoever.
Yeah, that's.
Would you like to put it on our September 18th agenda and come armed with people that you would like to see join our group?
With that.
Is that acceptable to all of you?
And what I can do, if it will be helpful, is I can send out an email to the committee which says basically where the vacancies are, so
Okay.
you'll know.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And then come armed with names for the September 18th meeting.
we will.
We'll begin contacting and refill our board. Is there anything else to come before the board? Anything you'd like to, Mayor?
Oh, well, I think Mary will try and take care of the minutes here. I just noticed that this thing ran out of batteries, so we'll see how many minutes, how many minutes she has to do.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with that one I got, so hopefully it's going to be operable next time.
Okay, no problem.
I told
We can
Cynthia
fake
the
it.
respect
Does your
one.
iPad
There
have
might
a
be a lot
recorder
of
on it?
dots.
There might be a lot of
It
dots.
doesn't-
Yeah, good
It picks up
point.
a lot of background.
All right, any final comment before we adjourn? Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved, Mr. Lawrence, second, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion? All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Lawrence, seconded by Mayor Brotherton. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your attendance. Not bad.
I
You're
Well,
off by
a lot.
two.
A lot of work.
Can I talk to Jim
A lot
about
of
that?
stuff.
What he was
Mary, would
thinking
you
about
do me
was
another
the
favor?
phrase.
Yes.
I'm
Son-in-law.
sorry.
I just wrote it down. I'm not too sure